Okay, so let's generate this function. Let's create this function, and then we'll create the extension, or we can even go straight to the extension. In any case, I do want to create a new folder called extensions. So new group, extensions. And let's create a new file. And so Command N and Swift file. I'm just going to call this randomness, okay, or random extension. Even though we're not really extending random, we're extending int, right? So it'd be kind of weird to call it random extension. I'm just going to copy this over to the extensions file, and I want to extend int. I'm not going to do the function version. It's pretty much the same, pretty much. So we want to extend int, and this is going to be a static function. So we have the signature over here, so let's just copy this. So generate unique random integers, and this should return an array of ints. Okay. Now, first of all, let's just test the case where the task is impossible. In case the task is impossible, what do I mean by that? If count is greater than 100, then return an empty set. Now, we could do something, and wait, before we continue, let's have return empty set here. We could do something a little bit more general, because now I'm assuming we're looking for a random number between 0 and 99. But what we could do is add a parameter lower and a parameter upper of type int from 0 to 99. This is a little bit more general. And then over here, we'll just take upper plus 1. The problem with that is that that is incorrect, because lower might not be 0. So it should actually be upper minus lower. Okay? Now, this code we have to really give some thought, because it's really easy to create an off by 1 error. Okay? Maybe it's supposed to be count is greater than upper minus lower plus 1, right? So this needs to be checked. Just be aware of that. This is like very, very subtle, very delicate. And a good way to check this is to consider the case where lower is, say, 1 and upper is 2. Right? If lower is 1 and upper is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. And we want something inclusive, right? Right? We're assuming we're looking for a random int in the range lower to upper inclusive. So, for example, if lower equals to 1 and upper equals to 2, right, example, then we want a random, and we have to discuss count. Number from, so 2 possible numbers, 1 and 2. And now let's think about count. Okay, so if count, say, is equal to 1, right? To be honest, we should be using double equal sign. This is just in the comments, so I'm writing it with a single, but if count equals to 1, then write a possible output is some random number between 1 and 2, say 2. If count equals to 2, then we get 2 numbers, right? Possible output could be 2, 2. It could be, oh wait, but we want different values, right? So it could be 2, 1 or 1, 2, right? We want different values. Now, if count is equal to 3, then we want 3 different values from here. This is impossible. Okay, this is impossible. Right? It's impossible because we could take 1, we could take 2, and then what? Right? I have to repeat a value. So let's just try to understand this case. So in this case, upper minus lower is equal to 1, and that's smaller than 3. And we see our mistake here. So really it should have been upper minus lower plus 1. And now it's correct. So you see this is a very good example of an off by 1 error. So now if I correct this, upper minus lower plus 1 equals to 2, and that's less than 3, which is the count. Okay, so I decided I could have made this optional. I could have made this optional and just returned nil. Or I could have returned unique random integers up to either this value or count. Anyways, I decided that we're returning an empty list if we exceed this bound. Now, it's not going to happen in this program, right? Because we're considering values from 0 to 99, and I'm only going to grab 4 values. But maybe later we'll want to do 2-digit numbers, or excuse me, 1-digit numbers. That's 0 to 9. Or maybe the number is 0 to 5. Anyways, it's good to program correctly, right? There was no chance in our specific application this was not going to be an issue, right? But if our count would be too large, then we would enter an infinite loop. Okay, so this is like something subtle, but it's always good to program correctly. Okay, so I'm going to define result to be an array of integers, and we're going to return a result. Now, while result.count is less than count, let random int, so now we're just actually solving the problem, equal to some random number from lower to upper. Of course, we should do some more checking, right? For instance, lower must be less than or equal to upper, right? So we can also add here if we want. Oops. Or if lower is greater than upper, right? So this, again, maybe it would have been wiser to create something optional, but this just is never going to happen, so I'm not really concerned with this. Okay, so let random integer be between lower and upper. And let's just make sure, right, check for uniqueness. So if result contains random int, then not good. So in other words, if it does not contain the random integer, then this is good. So we can append. So we can append. So result dot append random int, and we're done. Obviously, we should test this out, but I actually have tested the code. It's fine, and you might find a different way to solve this problem, and that's great. That's great. Absolutely. Okay, it's actually even better if you find a different solution, and there are other solutions. Okay, great. So have an amazing day, and see you next time.